Welcome to Deadlands Dime Novels, The Adventures of Young and Holt, Issue 36, Degrees of Resolve. I'm your narrator, Ernest Wick, intrepid reporter for the Tombstone Epitaph. In this issue, Joshua continues to visit the saloons in the town he finds himself in, and was about to find out what was on the portrait carried by the mysterious stranger. A stranger who, by all accounts, seems to recognize the gunslinger. What's really going on here? We're about to find out, so let's see where he's at.
Oh my lord, it's you! This comes from, to the side.
Beg your pardon?
Okay, so there's this guy. He's kind of rotund. He's coming over, and he's got, a pack on his back slung with something really big in it. It's flat, small. Kind of looks like a giant... you'll figure it out. Anyways. So he comes sort of running over to you. He's got on an old Union Army uniform. He doesn't have the hat. He's balding a little bit. And he just, runs right up to you and grabs your arm and is like, I can't believe it, it's you! And just stares up at you with these worshipful eyes.
Never one to disappoint or let on. He'll play along with the stranger and yeah, and how are you?
I am so much better now. I've been looking for months to find you. And then he slings his pack off his back and just yanks it open and starts pulling out what looks to be the back of a painting. Like a giant oil painting, nearly as tall as he is. It was on his back. And he pulls it out and drops it down with a thunk, and on it is someone who kind of looks like you. I mean, it's not even... I mean, he's a little older. He's got somewhat of a similar hat and the scruff, but it's kind of vague. Kind of vague in the way that dreams can be, but you can still see the details, and it's maybe it could be you. It's kind of weird.
Did you do this?
I did this right before, and he holds up his right hand, and all his fingers are gone off his right hand. I did this before I went into the war, and then I just saw you now, and I couldn't believe it.
What is the painting? The painting looks like Joshua, but is it like a Union general or something, or is it?
No. It's just like a man sitting on a horse. It's just like a portrait painting. There's no real background details or anything. That even the horse is kind of abstract in nature, and that doesn't really have any semblance to any horses you've ever seen.
Like paintings can be.
Yeah.
More an impressionistic painting, as the fancy ones would say.
The man himself, the clothes aren't the same as yours. I mean, there might be maybe a shirt has some similarity to yours, or he has a long coat, but it's not like it's
all right.
A rare coat you're wearing. But, it could be.
That hand there, looks like you're getting along good with that, and appreciative of the painting, but it's a little confusing to me right now, I must admit.
No. You don't understand. This is a sign. See, I'm here with a friend. Well, he's kind of a friend. You'll see. I promise. And so he just grabs your arm, leaves the painting there, and just starts heading for the stairs to head up the stairs in the saloon, pulling you with him.
I'll let him pull me along as I'm kind of glancing back to see if this is a gag or if anybody's laughing, but yet genuinely curious on where this is going.
As you're being pulled up the stairs and you're looking around, and this works better for your notice roll that you made earlier. You look and see that same man that I described earlier in the previous saloon, the one with the handlebar mustache and the features that would look like they were a little haggard in a certain sense. And he looks briefly at you as you're going up the stairs, and you're not sure if he's actually like making eye contact with you because you've seen him before, or is he making eye contact with you because you stumbled a bit going up the stairs because this person was pulling you up there. Makes brief eye contact with you and then looks back down and seems to be once again into his drink that he is having. But yeah, then you were taken up the stairs and around the balcony, and go ahead and take him where you want to take him.
So the man's like, and as he's going up the stairs, he's like, "My name is Cassidy Clay. I know you've never met me before. It might seem a little weird, but I just saw you, and I knew ever since I painted this, because it was the last thing I painted before I lost my fingers, that it had to mean something. And now I'm here, and I just know what it is." And he doesn't even wait for you to answer. He just keeps right on pulling you, and he grabs one of the saloon rooms. He grabs it and pulls it open, and laying on the bed is a man, and there's blood all over the sheets, and one of his right arm is gone from the elbow down, and it's wrapped up there, and it's still bleeding no matter what. And you can see the blood soaking through the bandages. I know you can help him. The painting said so. You're the one that can do it.
I'm not a doctor, sir. Looks like he needs a doc bad. What do you want me to do for him?
You get done saying that, and you feel a presence behind you, and there's a voice then that follows that presence. He wants you to do exactly what he said. Help him. If you're the one in the painting who can help him, then you're gonna help him.
See? He knows. He jerks his thumb and kind of looks back at him behind.
Joshua will not even turn to look at the voice that's telling him this, and step slowly into the room, still not fully understanding what they're expecting out of him. As he approaches the gentleman that's laying in the bed with his arm wrapped up, does he look conscious? Does he look like he's in pain?
He's absolutely in pain. If he's conscious, he's not coherent, he's not paying attention. He's drenched in sweat, obviously. Off to one side are a bunch of like old medical tools. That's, the bandages, alcohol, scalpels, a saw, things like that. So you'll help him?
Joshua's going to step up to the bed and drop this down on the table here. Instinct. You act without knowing why. So, intrepid Marshal, Joshua's in a daze, but his hands start moving, and he does what?
He, that's a really good question.
Okay. Do you want me to take this then? 'Cause I got an idea.
I am 100% loving where you're going with this, so yeah, go for it.
So, this makes it actually really easier. From looking at it, there's no reason you should know this. There's no experience, nothing like that. The only way to save him is to cut off your arm at the same spot and give it to him. And Cassidy is just there beaming at you like you're some sort of deity, like, please, I know you can do this. You're the only one.
Again, instinct kicked in, and his hands were moving without thought. All that you described flowing through his mind. So he'll reach over surprisingly fast and pick up one of the bone saws and put it to his arm and make a few quick, deep cuts. And before he knows it, he has cut his left arm off.
You get the arm cut off. You had tourniqueted off before you began the sawing, so you've got it off, and you've minimized the blood that's spurting. And as you turn to look at the guy on the bed, and you're about to begin the process of putting the arm on there, you realize that the face of the man, maybe you didn't notice it at first, maybe it changed, you're not sure. This was such a bizarre situation, you weren't sure. You realize that the person laying on the bed is Ike. Because of the instinct card that you played, you also know, should you give him your arm, he's going to be back, he's going to be good, everything's going to be just right with him in the world, and he's going to be able to continue going on and doing the horribleness and the terrible things that he's done in the past. But the arm is off. You're there. You've got the recognition now that it's Ike. You've got Cassidy behind you, eager and happy look on his face. He's realized he's so close to everything. And then you've got whoever is in the doorway behind you, which you haven't bothered to look at yet.
Impossible choices. Ouch. And there's always hope. So even though I know that by doing this, I'm going to bring Ike back, save him, and he's going to continue on, the thought of hope also kicks into my head that he could still change. He could still do good. He could still, have that second chance despite this. So he'll go ahead and go through with the motions that his instinct was calling him to do, and put that arm on Ike.
The surgery is surprisingly easy, and you are able to get it attached, and almost immediately the fingers begin to move and flex on the new arm, on Ike's new arm, and his eyes flicker open, and he looks at you, blinks a bit, and then just nods and gets up out of bed.
Cassidy's just staring, like, in glee.
Ike gets up out of bed and throws on his vest, grabs his duster and his hat, and then turns to leave, looks at you, and then you turn. At this point, you're following him out, and you realize the person who was behind you and standing in the doorway, you didn't recognize his voice at first. It was Mike, his brother, and standing there with a rifle. He just moves as Ike walks past and out the door.
Ike, remember the second chance.
Ike stops. You see him take a step back. He looks at you again. His eyes kind of squint, and he brings up his left hand, his new arm, and tips his head a bit and looks at you and says, "Yeah, we'll see. We'll see." And then walks away, followed by Mike.
Joshua turns to clasp the gentleman that led him up here on the arm with his left, and then realizes it's not there anymore and has to switch over to his right to kind of, pat him on the shoulder and head downstairs out of the room.
Cassidy doesn't follow.
As you go out of the room, I'm going to play the Deja Vu card. You walk out of the room, and you're getting towards the doorway, the threshold, and you're starting to stumble, and things are getting a little bit dizzy, and you look down at your arm, and even though you have a tourniquet, that's still, the blood is dripping there, and you feel like maybe the pain is catching up with you, maybe you've lost too much blood or something. And you put your hand on the threshold, the doorway. You close your eyes for a minute just to kind of regain your bearings, and spots and the sprinkles of light begin to kind of flash in there. When you open your eyes, you have an incredible sense of deja vu because you find yourself once again standing in the middle of the street. And the heat is down on you, and you look down immediately at your left arm. It's there, but now you're not sure, is this the first time you've been here or in this position, or is this now the third time you've been here? And you look and you see all three saloons, of course, are still there. All people who were there were milling about are there. All three of the colored suited individuals are still doing what they were doing. And the two native men are still on either ends of the T road. And they once again repeat the exact same thing that they had done the previous two times, or maybe for the first time, looking up at you briefly and then looking back down.
Joshua will take his horse and tie it off at the hitching post and nod to the gentleman in gray and go to walk into that saloon and stop and then turn, nod to the gentleman in gray who's checking his watch, and move down to the saloon that's on his left with the gentleman in the red tie and step into that saloon.
As you begin to walk in, you take a look at the sign above the door here, and the name of this saloon is known as the Malicious Mile. You walk in here, and the interior of the Malicious Mile seems eerily similar to both the previous two saloons. However, there are some definite differences in the sense that there are many cuts, scrapes, cracks, chips of paint, stains in areas on the walls and floors in here. This interior of the Malicious Mile definitely has seen some wear and tear, and judging by what's going on in here, you can easily understand why. There is dancing, there is card playing, there is laughter, there is drinking, but the overriding theme in here is just simply to party, to revel, and to enjoy and throw caution and safety to the wind. And there are reckless behaviors going on here where people were waltzing in the Antaxes and people were square dancing in Beyond Measure. Here it is a frenzy as far as dancing goes. The music is of fever pitch. Men and women are whipping themselves and partners around in circles. Sometimes grips are lost and they crash into tables. There is dancing on the tables. There is excessive drinking going on in here. And the revelry almost seems two shades away from being a full-on chaotic and or violent scene of sorts. But you are certainly able to navigate your way to the bar, should that be where you'd like to go.
Yeah, the pipe smoke from the gentleman in the black suit is still filling Joshua's nostrils, and it's got this sweet tang to it as he steps in, takes in the sight of revelry. He'll kind of tap his foot a little bit to the music, almost feeling like he could dance, except he remembers, nah, I'm a little old for that, and then makes his way to the bar.
The bartender, a greasy man, skinny, with a thin, razor-thin mustache and receding hairline that is just slicked and stained and sweated back, turns and looks at you, doesn't even ask. He just plops a shot glass down in front of you and hastily and lazily pours some whiskey in it and then gives it a little flick towards you, and the liquid kind of spills out on either side. And then he immediately, without saying anything or doing anything else, turns away from you and goes and helps somebody else.
Joshua will take the shot all at once, and as soon as it hits his mouth, it's this nice, sweet taste that then starts burning all the way down his throat, leaving him with a little bit of an aftertaste of, ugh, why did I do that? And he'll turn around and survey the room, kind of something familiar tickling at the back of his mind he's remembering a long mustache, maybe, as he's looking around the room.
Make me a notice roll at a +2. That's pretty good. You almost, in a certain way, instinctively know where to look. You look off to the far side away from where you're standing, and sure enough, man with a mustache and the haggard features, who looks vaguely familiar again, just like he did, or maybe this is the first time you've seen him, makes very brief eye contact with you, and then goes back and is into his drink. As you're standing there, the gentleman next to you elbows you. Hey, stranger. How are you?
Howdy. Just got into town, getting the trail dust off me.
Yeah, you picked the right place. The whiskey in here is good for that, that's for sure. And he slaps the bar. Give me 2 more. Bartender comes over and slops the whiskey in there. Guy slides one to you. Takes the other one. Name's Dirk. Slams it down.
Dirk, pleased to meet you. You from around these parts?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've been doing a variety of things, but I've come to find this town here to be my home of sorts. So as I taken a little break from work, so to speak. It's not that I'm been let go or anything like that. It's just I got a little tired of the trail, and I thought this would be the place to be. And as he looks around, I think I made a good choice, much like yourself.
And what line of work would that be in there, Dirk?
I've done a number of things. Some I'm proud of, some I'm even more proud of. I guess you could say. I made an honest living punching cattle, and he slams another shot of whiskey. Truth be told, I made a dishonest living rustling a lot of cattle. But, both jobs pay, and both jobs paid pretty well, and they allowed me to get a little good nest egg for myself, and I see fit to come and enjoy it here in the Malicious Mile.
I could see how you could enjoy it in such a place. It's a very fevered pitch of enjoyment in here.
That it is.
And nothing wrong with rustling. I knew a pair of widows who were cattle rustlers.
Oh. Yeah, sometimes I think that, things being they are now, everybody kind of needs to rely on everybody else. There was a time not too long ago that women could get away with those things much better than we could because nobody suspected them. I knew a few women in my day who actually had made quite a bit of money engaging in those illicit activities of that nature. And I was quite envious of them because it was something that was a little bit tougher for me to do. But you know what? I say more power to them when that happens. Now you, I'm not going to pick on you or anything. I mean this in the best of ways. Let's just say you look a little seasoned, I guess. And so I got to say, what brings you into...
One could say I've been peppered.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. I was going to say, it looks like you've been around and you've seen quite a few things. Maybe, if we're going to continue with this line, maybe you've even been assaulted a few times.
Rightly so.
Yeah. A lot of people come here to forget either their past or embrace parts of their past, or to, well, if you look in the case over there, that table where that gentleman just cleaned those other two from their money, to get revenge on people. I know that gentleman who's sitting over there. He and I spoke earlier, and he had come in here specifically to seek a little financial vengeance on two people from his past that he knew were here. I would imagine someone like yourself has probably got a few marks in his past that you probably don't even remember. I guess you better watch yourself in here. You never know who you might run into. He slams another shot of whiskey.
And, as if on cue, you hear this booming voice call out, "Joshua Young!" and then the clatter of doors, the saloon doors, as a tall, skinny man with sort of pale features and greasy hair, no hat, just sort of stands there staring directly at you.
Joshua's hands go to his guns, getting ready, not knowing, since somebody just might have called him out, and he will slowly turn, take in the scene of this person that busted in, and search his memory to try to recollect if he knows them.
Make a smarts roll. You have no idea who this individual is.
Who's asking?
You really don't remember me?
Dirk, you know this feller?
Dirk squints, takes another shot of whiskey. I gotta say, it probably starts with an L, but L if I know. He slams another.
What do you think's so funny over there, Joshua?
Did I wrong you, mister?
Wrong me? Did you wrong me? You stabbed me in the back, you son of a bitch. Oh, did you stab so many people in the back you don't remember me?
Maybe.
What's the matter, Joshua? Nothing to say?
He looks angry.
No witty quips? No smooth drawl to let it roll off your shoulders?
Joshua will just keep kind of tickling the pistol on his right, waiting, watching.
He looks a little upset. Are you sure you don't know who he is? I mean, he's talking to you like he really knows who you are.
Yeah, he is looking at me like he knows who I am. Of course, I don't recollect this gentleman at all. You might want to step away, Dirk, just in case things get nasty.
Well, I appreciate that's mighty kind of you. Here, just for safety's sake, and he slides the bottle, which has now been placed on the two of you. He slides the bottle of whiskey to you, but takes one last shot and steps away. I'll be right over here.
Joshua will pick up the bottle with his left hand and feel the weight in it, and it just feels a little odd, and then turn to look back at the gentleman standing in the doorway of the saloon.
You obviously don't remember me, but I guess why would you? I mean, I was probably the one who saved your life. I mean, you wouldn't want to remember any of that, would you? All that kindness we gave you?
Well, what say we share a drink and you tell me all about it? And I'll motion to one of the tables on the side.
Oh, that's funny. He has both his hands up, so you know he's not drawing. And he kind of carefully lifts open the inside of his coat, reaches in, nice and slow, pulls out a gun, and it looks real familiar. Sets it down on the ground, then just kicks it over in your direction.
First of all, the gun spins to a stop at your feet, and you hear Dirk let out a low whistle. And strangely enough, despite the chaos and the noise around here, it seems to have gotten purposefully quieter in this immediate area, in the path that is being created between you and this gentleman who kicked the gun to you and Dirk. And you hear Dirk, he lets out a low whistle. That is a fine looking firearm. And Joshua, you look down at it, and you do immediately recognize it. The memory of it just comes right back into your head. And this is the first pistol that you ever owned when you began your life. The first gun that you ever got from whoever you got it from. And you had it for quite some time, but ended up losing it in some manner, involved in one of the elements and things from your past, which probably will come back to you now as this, but this is definitely from your early days, which may explain why you don't remember this person, at least immediately, but the fact that he has now kicked your very first gun that you've ever owned to you, it begins to trigger some of those memories back. And I will let you make a smarts roll to see if you can now remember this guy's name.
It's a really distracting saloon, okay?
Would you like to spend a penny?
It is a very distracting saloon. I will tell you this. You don't remember his name, but you remember his nickname. His nickname was just simply, it was either LL or Double L is what people would call him.
Joshua reaches down and picks up the first gun that he ever pulled on a man in his life. And because he had read too many Nickel novels and listened to too many tall tales, it of course was a rusty old Colt Peacemaker that he tried to haggle together and oil and bring back to life, but it had seen better days before he even started using it.
And how do you think he lost it? Was it in a robbery gone wrong? Was it by complete accident? Did somebody steal it from you because they think you had wronged them?
Robbing a bank car on a train. And he was trying to be exuberant and run along the rooftop of the train car after he had managed to ride up to it on his horse. And the guards on the train, of course, were shooting low level across the rooftop. And as he tried to pull and fire from the roof of a moving train, he lost it over the edge.
And I'm going to say then, because of that essentially mistake, that ended up causing Double L to be injured in such a manner that he held you responsible. If you had been doing your job,
I couldn't cover him.
Yeah, things wouldn't have gone the way they went.
Do you know how many years I spent in jail? Because you, in your stupid cowboy dreams, just wanted to waltz on that roof up there? All you had to do was open the door and point the gun down the car. But no! You had to be prancing around on the roof like you're Kid Curry or something like that. Should've just done your damn job.
You hear Dirk say, "Ooh, yeah, Kid Curry. He was quite the flamboyant outlaw. You're trying to be like Kid Curry? It's hard to imagine somebody as looking as old as, as seasoned as you, dancing around like that." And he grabs somebody else's drink and takes a shot.
Joshua, since he's got this old, rusty peacemaker in his hand, does a nice flourish, hence the agility roll.
Oh, nice.
And just kind of looks over at Dirk and then back at Double L standing in the doorway. Well, how do we need to make this right?
There's only one way this ends. You know that.
You hear Dirk whistles again. Whoo! Looks like we got ourselves a little bit of trouble. Everybody get out of the way! And the crowd just kind of, it seems to almost part in a... You know how when people move, there's a crowd and there's kind of a jittery and jerky? It's almost like everybody slides in this smooth manner, and there is a immediate open path in between you and Double L. And you could see like a little piece of paper kind of floats across, and there's a little kid runs across, grabs a chair, and pulls the last obstacle out of the way, and he disappears into the crowd.
Joshua slowly tucks the rusty peacemaker in the front of his belt and pulls his hand away and just kind of looks up at LL, looks over at the bottle in his other hand, gives him a nod, tosses the bottle in the air, and then slowly turns to look at LL. And as they're steely staring at each other, the sound of the bottle hits the floor, and it's interrupted by 2 gunshots.
And it's immediately followed by 2 grunts, heavy grunts, as both rounds lay into both of you. And Joshua, you stagger back a little bit, and you have to take your free hand to steady yourself on the bar. And you look up, and you could feel the searing pain because that bullet went right in, and you can just feel it burning in your guts. But you turn, or you look up and across at where Double L is standing, and he's wobbling a bit, and he looks at you, and he raises a finger to point, and what does he say before he collapses Porter into death?
Why do I have to pay for your mistakes? It's not fair. And then he falls back.
He stumbles back and through the doors, and you can hear the sound of someone falling, but you don't see if he falls or where he landed. Dirk comes up to you. He has another whiskey bottle in his hand and his shot glass. Ooh, that doesn't look good. Are you okay?
Yeah, I think I just got peppered again.
He leans down and looks in your torso. You're peppered and assaulted. You best go see the doc, I'm thinking.
And he would be where?
Just out the door down the street.
Joshua will, balance himself on the bar, take a step towards the saloon doors, and stop, and kind of turn and look at where the gentleman with the long mustache was at, to see if he's been watching everything unfold in front of him.
He absolutely has, and he looks directly at you. And you see him get up from his seat, and he's walking towards you.
So as I'm staring at him, it's that magic moment where things connect, and I just give me a hand.
He walks up to you and loops a hand behind you as you rest it on his shoulder. He looks at you. Some fine gunplay.
Not quite fine enough. And start slowly stepping towards the saloon. Much obliged, stranger. You are?
Well, first off, let me say, you're walking away from a gunfight, so right then and there, that's a successful gunfight. We'll get you patched up. Yeah, and you're stepping closer towards the doors, and you say to him, and you are... And he looks, he says, my name's Bill. A lot of people like to call me Wild Bill, but whatever. Hey, let me tell you, when you see your friend, tell him I said hi. It's a pleasure to meet the two of you. And you step out of the saloon.
Joshua's got a shocked look on his face as he steps out of the saloon.
And as soon as you step out, Bill is no longer, or Wild Bill is no longer there supporting you. And in fact, you suddenly feel immediately better. By the time you get off the porch of the saloon and down to the bottom of the steps, you realize the man in the gray suit is standing there, and he's looking at his pocket watch again. You stop at the bottom step, and you could just feel that heat again. It's just pounding down. The man in the gray suit does not seem to be bothered by the heat at all, actually. It doesn't seem to be affecting him really in any way. He looks up at you and says, well, that was quite fun, I have to say, I kind of like what you did. It all seemed to work out pretty well. You did good. You did good. Look, here, chap, I'm going to need some balance with a few things. I'm thinking... And he looks you in the eye, and he has a very serious look on his face. And he says, I'm thinking really, when it comes down to it, there's probably still a few more chapters in your story, I'd wager. Then he sticks the pocket watch into your face so you can look at it. The time, it shows 11:50. You notice, though, as as the watch comes into focus and he says those last lines, there's still a few chapters in your story, I'd wager, that it went from that accent to sounding like Penelope's voice back in Deadwood. And with that, the pocket watch closes. You see that clip shut, and you hear that distinct click noise when a pocket watch closes. And everything goes black. When your vision returns, you can feel the sensation of your eyes opening as if you'd been sleeping for a long time, and they just feel heavy, and you can feel this kind of the sting or this wetness around the corners of your eyes, and your gaze is suddenly filled by two faces as your vision begins to clear. Both of them are distinctly Native American. One is very old and the other looks pretty young, and they're just staring at you, staring into your eyes as you continue to blink and blink and blink and get your vision clear. And then almost in unison, they both smile, huge toothy grins at you. And the older one speaks, and he says, "Are you okay?"
Reckon I don't rightly know where I'm at.
That would seem to make some sense. He and the other, he says, "Help him up." And you sit up, and you find yourself inside a small patch of trees on a very, very low hill. In the distance, you can see a small town, and there is a very obvious rail line that runs along right up into this town. There's some cattle pens off to the side. You're probably maybe 200 yards outside of the edge of town. There's some farm fields off to the side as well. And you definitely, it does not look like the town that you were just in. And the younger native, he comes back and he gives you some water. You should drink. You need it. You need this.
Joshua takes a big gulp of water, and you can just feel his body soaking it up like a sponge, like he hasn't drank in months. And he starts feeling around. He can still feel the gunshot where it happened, and feels his left arm still being there, and the ghost pains of cutting into it, and takes another big gulp of water, running down his cheek as he's trying to gulp too much at once.
The older man slows you. Easy. You will get sick if you drink too fast. And as you swallow that last swallow of water, your mind begins to open up and clear a little bit, and you remember the names of these two men. The older man, his Sioux name is Apanus, which translates to chief when a child, and the younger man's name is Anape, which translates to appears bravely. Apanus says to you, "How do you think it went? How do you feel it went?"
It was... Well, I think it went well. The path before me might be a little less fuzzy now once I get my head cleared out.
I think so. You said many strange things when you were in the lodge, but I feel that your feeling is right.
Joshua will turn around and and look and kind of see the lodge off a little bit from where he's at. Yeah, it was a good sweat.
It was a good sweat. They, of course, you're still, of course, wearing your long johns, as you do, drenched. You are both Apanus and Anape help you up, get you walking around, get you washed off, and they, over the course of this, Apanus explains a bit more to you about, what you saw there is for you to use as you progress forward in your mission. He does say that he believes that everything that you had done up to this point was good, and he hands you the cylinder and the shells that you had made when you were in Minneapolis. They appear to be a bit cleaner, a bit more polished. And he says, now that they have been consecrated within the lodge and with you, this will allow you to complete the task before you.
As he hands me that cylinder, I'll clasp my top hand over his hand to kind of just hold it there for a second and thank him and nod my head.
Apanus doesn't let go of your hands yet, and he looks at you a bit more deeply, and he says, know that the violence that you do against Entenunpa is to set things right. When you have completed, come back here, and we shall cleanse you of that.
I understand, Apanus. I appreciate you allowing me to use the lodge, which is typically for purification, to find this clarity and purpose.
You gather up the remainder of your things, get dressed, and Anape comes up to you, and he says, I will take you back into town. There are a few things I need to take care of. Plus, you need to rendezvous with your friend, yes?
Yes, I have a message for him.
When the roundup time is over and the hardest work is done, cowboy saddling up.
So, everything appears to be resolved when it comes to Joshua Young. But what about Porter Holt? We may find some answers to those questions in our next issue, The Coin's Other Side. The part of Joshua Young is played by Brent Rich. Cassidy and Double L were played by Brad Smith, and your intrepid marshal is played by Chris Hussey. Deadlands and Savage Worlds are the property of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Learn more at their website, peginc.com. Thanks also to Fear the Boot. Support their Patreon at patreon.com/feartheboot. Intro music by Beelzebub Jones. Exit music by Eugene Regret. Some sound effects by Plate Mail Games. Hear more at platemailgames.com. Contact information for the cast as well as music links can be found in the notes on our website, youngandholt.com. If you enjoy these issues, please consider dispensing a lovely 5-star review on wherever you do listen from. Please search for Fear the Boot Actual Play. It's kindly appreciated. I'm Ernest Wick for the Tombstone Epitaph. And remember, it isn't so much the getting knocked down, it's the getting back up that makes the difference.